Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Makalasi. Thank you for looking at my station. So today I decided to do a topic on the Greys. I know that's a very popular alien species that a lot of people may have some curiosities on and have some questions on. So basically to talk about the Greys, I got to first let people know that there's more than one type of Grey species. In actuality, there's at least a minimum of 100 type of species. But the origins came back to the ancients when they basically wanted to create this type of worker scout type of being for them, and those were called the Romanian Greys, and those were the ancestors to the Pygmies and to the other species of Greys. Now basically the reason that they had these Romanian Greys was because they wanted them to be scouts and workers. And what I mean by scouts is they would basically go into different types of planets, analyze the different type of ecosystems and environment, and then report the data back to the ancients. Eventually they got their own freedom and was freed by the ancients, and that's when they got their constellation in Zeta Reticuli, which is the star system. And from there they decided to grow their empire into different universes, multi-dimensional places, and they expanded, but their capital was more concentrated in Zeta Reticuli. Eventually there was the Zeta Reticuli Greys, Romanian Greys, had a fight with Draconians, and it was very a big war, and they lost. But when it comes to these Romanians, the ancient Greys, with their spirituality, they were very advanced. So that in essence, they're a lot more advanced than someone like the Anunnakis and Draconians. And they did have the capabilities, as the humans do, to turn their bodies into Merkaba, so therefore they can turn their bodies into ships. Now when it comes to their technology, they're not as advanced as the Anunnakis because they were more on the type of Atlanteans when it comes to their technology. So although they were more spiritually advanced, they weren't really technology advanced as the rest of them. What happened was eventually with time, a lot of other alien races followed the prototype of the Greys. So you had the Draconians, Anunnakis, Reptilians, the Palladians. They kind of wanted to form their own type of beings like the Greys. And when they did that, they did it, however, it wasn't perfected to the point of the Romanians, which were the ancestors of these type of Greys. So when they created these Greys, they kind of ended up looking a lot more unemotional, asexual, and more like robots in a sense. So that's what happened with these types of Greys. Now when it came to the reptilian Greys, however, they were a little bit more violent, because what happened was reptilians put their DNA into their Greys, and which made them a little bit more violent. Now when it comes into the Greys into Earth, a lot of people always talk about them being a little bit more famous, and they're a little bit more well known. What a lot of people don't realize is there's still a quarantine over the planet, so most of the times Greys can't come down and just land. So if the Greys who are monitoring the Earth wanted to interact with Earth, they would usually channel their stuff to, let's say, the government, who would then would have this channel information coming through. But just like the aliens, the government also made their type of own Greys, so who were, you can say in essence, were Earthlings. And with those Greys, they had ships and they would do abductions. And the purpose for these abductions of these government was for the purpose of human experiments and to let people believe that there were aliens landing, when in actuality they were connected to, let's say, the Majestic 12. And if you're curious who Majestic 12 is, I did a video on that. Now there's other types of interdimensional beings that people get confused for the Greys, and these are called the jinns. And what these are interdimensional elementals who are connected to the fire element. And in appearance, they do look like the Greys, and they do abductions just like the Greys. So a lot of times people confuse them, if not the government Greys, as these Greys that do abductions. So then the question goes, why do they do these abductions? And the reason they do these abductions is because they're interdimensional beings, and because there's a quarantine over the planet. Sometimes they come into the planet, this dimension, and they can't leave. And the way that they have to leave is they have to abduct people and use them as a sacrifice to generate enough power to open a portal, therefore they can leave. So a lot of times these jinns would actually abduct people, and that's some of the things that would happen. So the abductions are connected to either the jinns or to the government abductions, because right now the Greys cannot land. But when it comes to the Greys that are monitoring Earth, however, they've actually left because they realized there's really nothing else for them to be monitoring, so they kind of moved on to other locations and planets and whatnot. So basically that is like a quick introduction to the Greys. Their origins are from Romanians, which the ancients created them, and that's where the original Greys came from. They basically are in conjunction with Zeta Tekla, which is their capital. They have a massive empire that has expanded. They're very the original Greys, the ancient Greys, can turn their bodies into Merkaba, so therefore they're very spiritual. Not necessarily the new ones are, but the ancients were. And what happened was a lot of times, a lot of other alien groups liked the prototype of these Greys, so that therefore they copied the prototype and created on their own. So they all have their type of Greys. However, they're not as perfected as the original ancient ones from Zeta Tekla. So therefore they are asexual, more robotic in their nature. A lot of times people don't realize that the Greys can't really land on us because there's a quarantine. However, the government has their own type of Greys that do abductions that look like aliens, as well as they get them confused with the jinns, who are interdimensional fire elementals who are connected to Satanists and to Illuminatis as well. If you guys are really interested, I can actually do a video on these jinn, because it's a very interesting concept to understand. But that's my quick video to the Greys. I hope you guys like it, and I'll see you in my next.